Good evening, race fans, and welcome to round 8 of the Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercars series. Tonight, we bring you all of the action from the land of maple syrup, and apologies for everything. That is, of course, we are here in Canada at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowmanville, better known as Mosport. This is an iconic circuit, and it is an absolute classic. 10 corners of high-speed commitment, elevation changes, and zero margin for error, which is exactly the sort of track that we love to see the Alliance Sim Racing driver roster taking on in the Gen 3 Supercars. We are heading into the business end of the season now, of course, and the championship fight is absolutely heating up. And so, of course, every point, every pass, and every pit strategy could make the difference between glory and heartbreak in just a few weeks' time. So tonight, expect elbows out racing and action from green to checkered as the drivers wrestle the Gen 3 beasts around one of North America's toughest road courses. Buckle up, we are about to get underway here with Alliance Sim Racing, and tonight, with the Simple Racing broadcast commentary team, I welcome back to the booth Josh Harris. My name is Jared Cole, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you all along with us once again. Josh, it's going to be another fantastic week of racing here with Alliance. Mosport, it's one that I don't have a lot of experience with, but from what we've been seeing in the practice and pre-race warm-ups, it is going to be a really, really tough circuit tonight, isn't it?
Good evening, Jared. Thank you very much for having me along. And a quick apologies to our viewers in the rapid dash across the Pacific to the North American continent. I unfortunately left my gold-plated, simple provided microphone behind, so apologies for any little audio hiccups tonight. However, super excited to be here. What a fantastic track, and Jared, you're right. Challenging would be the way that we would describe it. I also don't have the most experience around here, but I was lucky enough to jump in a Gen 3 supercar yesterday with the team here at ASR and cut some laps. Looks pretty simple on paper when you look at that track map that we've got up there, Jared. I am here to assure our viewers it is anything but simple. The elevation changes are tricky, the corners are blind, the braking areas are often intense and unsettle the cars. Long runs, it's got a bit of everything, and I think that the drivers who love this place will absolutely shine. And if you happen to be like me and don't have the most experience, I think that you're going to get found out tonight It's definitely a track that rewards an intimate knowledge of it, just with its layout and huge undulations. And I think that it's going to produce some really interesting racing, a number of opportunities, particularly through turns 2, 3, and 4, for cars to run wide, miss their turning point, etc., and just ignite the racing as we get up to the really tight corners at 5, and then obviously beautiful big long back straight into another braking area. So lots to look forward to tonight, Jared. And if anyone can conquer this track, it is the team at ASR. So we are here to go.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And of course, this was one of the tracks that when the calendar for this season was announced, there were a whole bunch of drivers very, very excited to have this one included for this season. So I expect there'll be quite a few names out there who are familiar and massive fans of this track. I'm looking forward to some very, very close racing across the 2 heats tonight. Race 1, a 15-lap sprint this evening, followed by race 2, 35 laps, a reverse top 5 grid from the finishing order of race 1, 2 compulsory pit stops to take in that 35 laps, and a 50% fuel limit in play tonight as well. So a lot of the usual tricks from up the sleeve of the ASR admin team. They're certainly going to put the drivers through their paces this evening, and all in the pursuit of championship points, which are of course becoming more and more important as we enter what is the third last of the rounds in this season. So round 8, round 9 and 10 to come at Daytona and Interlagos. Before we get into it tonight, let's take a look at the championship standings. Matt Vanderkraan continues to hold the lead with only 51 points currently separating him from Jamie Dyke in position 2. Wayne Walker a little bit further back on 1,577, but not out of it just yet, although I'm sure he feels those top 2 positions slipping a little further out of his grasp with every round that goes by. He should, however, take some comfort in the fact that he looks to have had that third place pretty well sealed up at the moment, 130 points back to Mark Poynton, who's going to have a real battle on his hands to hold on to that position from Dean Logsdale and Jamie McKnight, who are nipping at his heels, and then a few battles further back through the pack as well. It's been a really, really tight championship all the way, and it's going to go right down to the wire, I'm sure. We welcome BG to the chat. It's got moss on one corner. Wait, you mean to tell me that Moss Corner actually has moss on it? Is that modelled here? I don't think I actually even noticed that. Surely not.
I'm not 100% sure that that's correct, Jared. I think that may just be a little bit of a play on words. Moss Corner, however, very, very challenging. Double apex, right-hander. The entry is not as tight as the exit, and it's difficult to spot that second apex in a supercar. Unreal corner. Unreal track, I've got to say. It's got all the hallmarks of some really good racing, I'll say.
Yeah, and we are absolutely keen to see what these drivers bring to it. The qualifying session just about done at this point. Most of the drivers having already completed their 2 lone laps of qualifying. Just 1 or 2 of the drivers who still have a lap up the sleeve, and it'll be a decision on whether they do come back out to complete a second lap or are happy with their times. But we're down to about a minute and a half before we get underway here this evening. A question in the chat from BG. Sterling Moss, I assume you mean, designed the track, didn't he? I'm actually not sure. I don't think I found who designed that, but I'm sure we can figure that out fairly quickly. Yeah, Josh is on it in the background. It was actually designed though by Alan Bunting. So never heard of him, to be fair, but Alan Bunting designed the track and laid it out in 1958, officially opened it in 1961. The first Canadian track, would you believe, to host a Formula One Grand Prix. It did so in 1967. So there's your trivia for this evening. Don't ask me to come up with all of that all night, because I'm going to have to keep my eyes on the track a little bit as well, I suppose. I guess that's kind of what we're here to do.
Moss Corner, though, is named after Sterling Moss. So Sterling Moss, he suggested a remodel to turns, or to what was a single radius turn at turn 5, and suggested the dual radius that we now have. And so the corner was named. Yeah. Thanks, Sterling.
Thanks, Sterling.
Absolutely appreciate what you've done there. But yes, Moss Corner is named in his honour, recognising the influence that he did have on Canadian Motorsport Park.
There's a couple of big names in the corner naming here as well. as the qualifying session comes to an end in the background. We'll be able to bring you the grid in just a moment. You know, a lot of the corners here do carry some reasonably recognisable names, not least of which, of course, the Mario Andretti straight along the back part of this course. So it's one to keep an eye out for as well. But we are ready to get underway with Heat 1 here this evening. Our first race, as I said, the 15-lap sprint, and Scott Gamble has taken pole position by less than a tenth of a second from Dean Logsdale. Wayne Walker and Jamie Dyke will start on the second row ahead of Matt Vanderkraan and Michael Stewart. Then David Coleman and Mick Clifton ahead of Brian Minogue and Alex Kiedis, with Jamie McKnight and Stephen Varga just missing out on the top 10 here this evening. Andrew Hoffman and Mark Poynton on the row 7 ahead of Rick Varga and Jim Caparonis. Then Damon Fisher and Scott McCune ahead of Lorne McKee and James Hardy. Peter Latham and Dylan Sipple line up ahead of Todd Martin and Andrew Johnston. Then Troy Sipple and Simon Farrington occupy 25th and 26th on the grid. 27th and 28th go to David Logsdale and Craig Rose respectively, with Jason Spriggs the last driver on the grid. Simon Haynes, I believe, should be actually racing this evening rather than driving the safety car, so we'll have to check into that, make sure we do include him in the results. But Tim Nicol and Tim Lawson will be behind the wheel of the safety car if it does come into play this evening. And with that, we will go down to the start-finish line as the drivers are getting gridded up, ready to go racing here in race number 1. And the first of those drivers already on track as we speak, with just a few more yet to jump in the car. And Josh, I think it's going to be a really, really difficult first lap here. I'm going to go out and say that there's a good chance that we're going to see a safety car on lap 1. Because there are plenty of opportunities where having these cars alongside each other will be a recipe for disaster.
I can definitely see potential for a couple of high-speed spins in those corners where there's a significant elevation change. We know that these cars dance around at the best of times, but when you are plummeting off the top of one of those hills at turns 2 and 4, there is definitely the opportunity for a very slight tap on the rear to do all sorts of horrible things. I think that you could be on the money. I'm probably not willing to lay down a huge amount of money on the line for that one, Jared, but you're probably not far off the mark. If there's not a safety car, I think that we're definitely going to see a bit of action, that's for sure.
We've got about 20 odd seconds to go before these drivers need to be on the grid, so just the last couple getting themselves sorted out before they do jump in the car, waiting on Jamie Dyke to take his position in at P4, and Brian Minogue just jumping onto the grid now as well. And I tell you what, Scott Gamble's pole position, it does look decidedly far forward, doesn't it, the pole position here at Mosport?
It's definitely a staggered grid, but that's okay. You probably deserve a little bit of a free kick if you do get pole, and of course nice little run down to turn 1 where he's nicely on the inside. So it's going to be interesting to see. We are under starters orders now. We do see the grid set, our red lights coming on, the drivers starting to get ready. A fantastic launch there, quite even across the start, but what looked like a pretty good start for Wayne Walker and Jamie Dyke, both moving forward. A little bit of lawn mowing going on there in the back, but we do see the field all enter in through turn 1. Lots and lots of cars 2 by 2, Jared, and so far everything has been clean.
Oh, very, very close to a bit of contact there. And sure enough, in the background, one of the Quantum Racing entries getting loose there. Looks like it might have been Dylan Sipple, and with him Scott McCune and James Hardy going off track, as well as Lorne McKee. So there has been quite a bit of contact early on, and we saw them starting to get loose in the shot just before we switched over. And it does look like it's come to pass that they've come together there. So they'll be a long way further back down the field and trying to catch up to the rest of this pack as they make their way around on lap 1 of this 15-lap sprint. The cars make their way down Mario Andretti straight up the hill, and you can see already starting to space out quite a bit. The one to watch right now, Matt Vanderkraan, hasn't actually made the progress forward that we usually expect from him, because he's dealing with Michael Stewart and David Coleman right on his tail here tonight as they make their way further on down. BG, the question, how many safety cars? We've got 2 drivers of the safety car this evening, if that's what you mean. Just in case one does punt it into a wall. These things happen. We've seen it happen in the real world. I was just talking about this last night, in fact. on another broadcast that it wouldn't be the first time a safety car has crashed out while leading the group. But in terms of how many safety cars we'll have tonight, look, I'm hoping not many. We're usually pretty clean and tidy, and these guys are already starting to settle into their rhythm here. As we keep an eye on Vanderkruijs, he's going to need to get as many points as he can here to stay ahead of Jamie Tyke, who is currently 2 positions ahead of him in this pack. Scott Gamble, though, continues to lead after that phenomenal start that he had. The same can't be said, unfortunately, for Dean Logsdale, bogging down off the start and losing a couple of spots to Wayne Walker and Jamie Dyke, so finds himself in 4th. And off to a fairly clean start. Some battles going on further back in the field, though. These are some of the cars that went off a little earlier. So Todd Martin and Scott McCune right in there with Troy Sipple now as well. And just trying to regather. Big moment for Scott McCune as he goes sideways into that tight corner just onto Mario Drew Straight. That is, of course, the second part of Moss Corner. And you can certainly see why the changes were made there. That does add a little bit of risk factor to that turn, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's actually quite a fun corner. It's just very difficult in a supercar to be able to see and pick your apex. But it's it's a really fun corner. And to be fair, they're actually all pretty fun on this track, Jared. Lots and lots of mid to high speed corners, which these cars just don't like. So one thing that I noticed in my quick couple of laps, pretty big amount of tyre wear. So 15 laps around here on a set of tyres is going to be punishing. Lots of high load on the tyres when they get to the bottom of drops, and we now see Dave Coleman putting a move on Michael Stewart, going to find himself on the outside of turn 4, which was never going to work. But just as I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, Jared, there, turn 4, great opportunity for people to just miss that turning point and run themselves wide, exactly like Michael Stewart did there. So Dave Coleman played the very sensible game there, backed out of it on the way into 4 and picked up the pieces when Michael Stewart unfortunately dropped the ball.
Take a look at this three-way battle going on as well. Jamie McKnight leading Mark Point and Stephen Varga. Poynton looking for a way past McKnight. He looks the inside, McKnight defends, and he can't go anywhere on the outside because Vargas is right there. So the three will continue this battle further on through this lap. But the front group still all very tightly packed. Your front 4, though, starting to just increase the gap ahead of Vanderkruijs. Makes me think that perhaps it's one of those tracks that Vanderkruijs is not a fan on. The only other thing, of course, we could postulate is that Vanderkruijs is intentionally holding P5 for the pole position in race 2. Seems unlikely, knowing him, but you never know. Maybe it's all part of the strategy. Question in the chat: how does the new damage model compare to the previous? Does it actually result in more damage than the previous model? I don't think it actually does result in more repairs being required. I think that the new damage model, if I'm not mistaken, was primarily cosmetic, wasn't it?
It's a change in philosophy on how the damage is applied. So it was a change in things like damage zones and stuff like that. It makes it far more, what I would say, to be realistic. And we see hits in a particular place. As we do quickly jump to a replay that shows Mr. Sipple doing his very best. Yeah, I think he's putting his application in. Sick of driving supercars, wants to join the Hot Wheels stunt team, and unfortunately,
that flipped around once he got onto the grass there.
Yeah, absolutely. 600 odd horsepower, slip tyres and grass aren't usually the best combination. Just back to my comment on damage quickly, Jared. Essentially what it means is that you pick up damage in the right spot. So when there is contact, the damage zones are far smaller, which means that they're able to more accurately place that damage on the car. Luke Allman in the chat.
Welcome back,
hard
Luke.
to pass,
good to have you.
easy to block.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably a fair point. Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
The defensive efforts have been absolutely monumental this season. We've seen more than one race where you and I have spent most of our time marvelling at the efforts defensively. rather than from an attacking perspective. And yeah, this is certainly one of those tracks that offers a great opportunity if that is one of your strengths. You were saying in the green room before we jumped on broadcast, Josh, that you found the ideal line around Mosport, considering how wide of a track it actually is. The ideal line's actually fairly narrow, which I imagine would help with making it a fairly easy track to defend on as well.
That's really a byproduct, Jared, of the speed of most of these corners. You know, nearly all of these corners are those mid to high speed corners. There's, you know, your third, fourth, and even fifth gear in the vast majority of corners here. And what that means is, you know, stuff like turn one here, fourth gear, you tip it in, but there's really only one line because you're full on the throttle, sliding it all the way out to the ripple strip on the outside. And what that means is there's just not the opportunity to really pick a different line, because if you do pick a different line, it's bound to be slower. And what that means is if you want to be quick, you have to follow the traditional racing line around here, which makes it hard to pass because whilst you know, you might be faster than the car in front, you have to find a way to be faster when you're not on the traditional line. Things like braking up here into what I think is turn 8. They do list a couple of these very fast, wide open throttle corners on Mario Andretti straightaway as turns, and so yeah, getting look, it is. I don't know that I'll call them corners, but anyway, but being able to get good drive out of Moss Corner, be tucked into the slip, and potentially throw down the inside here as we head into the S's is a great opportunity, and I'm sure that if you can make it work coming out of 4 and somehow getting the inside on the entry into turn 5 up into that Moss Corner would also be a pretty decent place.
We've been keeping our eyes on the battle for around about 10th position for a little while now. Jamie McKnight hanging in there and again making it very difficult for Poynton and Varga to make their way past behind him. But we'll take a look up front again, and Scott Gamble and Wayne Walker starting to really establish themselves out in front here, with Jamie Dyke just dropping off a little. You know, that gap out to almost a second now between Walker and Dyke. Dean Logsdale further back, and then Matt Vanderkraan still in 5th position. Very, very comfortable. Some smoke there from the previous lap. I do wonder if that might be perhaps Lorne McKee or Craig Rose even, who's actually gone off track there. So we'll have to go back and take a look, see if we can find out what's caused that as well. But the front 4 really quite comfortable at the moment. What is a little surprising to me, and again, you know, to Luke's point in the chat, a very difficult track to pass on, and that's probably why we're seeing very little movement in the race order right now, because these guys are so consistent at basically every track they go to. It does make passing opportunities few and far between, and Mosport not really throwing up a lot that are suitable for the Gen 3 Supercar. So it's something you have to think about well in advance as a driver. You have to really be setting up your passes for late in the lap from the moment you pass the start-finish line. There's a lot of work involved in getting a proper pass set up around a track like this in a Gen 3 Supercar, and it's not the sort of thing that just happens in one turn a lot of the time. It really is it's an undertaking, isn't it?
It is, and I find it interesting as we talk through that, you know, just how many drivers were excited about this, and as we do quickly look back and we see one of the
smoke
Quantum
from Craig Rose, yep, lighting the tyres up as he tries to get going again.
Another applications to the Hot Wheels stunt team. Obviously, Quantum looking to put Matt Mingay out of business. They're going to start the Quantum Tint Solutions drifting team, but I think it's interesting, Jared. So many drivers, like you said, were excited about coming here, but I guess potentially a far more exciting race from the driver's seat. A lot of drivers really enjoy these difficult races. There's so much strategy that goes into finding the exact right moment to make the pass, and it may very well be that's their thing. Speaking of finding the right moment to make a pass, we quickly look back to the battle for 15th, Jared. We talk about this all the time. These guys will fight for sheep stations no matter where they are. 5 cars all in a nice little battle Rick Vigar holding just a little bit of a lead there, but everyone starting to tuck up behind him, and this has got all the hallmarks of an angry battle pack forming up very, very quickly.
And it's been going on for quite a few laps. I've just been keeping an eye on them in the timing tower, and Vigar has had to hold off a number of attacks here from Caperonis and, of course, Fisher behind him. He's doing well at the moment in the West Automotive Angry Birds entry to just keep in front, and we see in the background Fisher has a moment, and that's all it takes for Simon Haynes and Peter Latham to get through and establish themselves a couple further spots ahead than they were previously. Just like that, it can change. You know, it's put 1 foot wrong, and all of a sudden you're on the move back through the order.
Especially at Moss Corner there, one thing I found last night was the car goes from having quite a bit of grip, and then if you just happen to put those left tyres a little bit wide into the dirt, all the grip goes, and you have to slow down so much to get the car turned back onto the track. So yeah, absolutely, you make the smallest of mistakes up there, and it's always going to punish you.
Lap 10 now of 15, this sprint race 2/3 of the way done. And so far, if this is what we can expect from race number 2, it's going to really be a battle of pit strategies here tonight, I suspect, as the drivers will need to make 2 compulsory pit stops in race number 2, and that's going to really shake it up. Right now, we're seeing these cars are probably hitting, and we've spoken about this often, the second wind of these tyres doesn't come in until around about lap 10, 12, 15, somewhere like that. So they're probably getting through a pretty tough patch in terms of tyre performance at the moment, just comparative to what you get in the first couple of laps out of these tyres on the Gen3 Supercars. But the lap time's not really reflecting any struggles here. We've got so many drivers all within a second and a half of each other in terms of lap time. We see it every week, and it never fails to amaze me. It really doesn't, Josh. It's such a quality field here that we have racing in ASR. And it's hard to imagine that so many of these races are separated by so little in terms of time.
Yeah, and I'm just quickly looking through the whole pack, and the number of people that are within 6/10 of their fastest lap is quite incredible. Obviously, reasonably low deg here, not suffering the same effects that we do at other tracks, but which I actually find interesting. Maybe I was overdriving the car, but I certainly struggled last night with tyres that fell off pretty quickly. Big, long, loaded corners. I thought that we would see things suffer a little bit more, as we see Mark Poynton just getting a little bit agitated. He knows that laps are running out. He thought he had a run there through 4. Thought that he'd stick it up the inside in the Moss Corner. Just didn't quite get it, but he is absolutely getting frustrated with this, and wants to get on with it.
Yeah, he's had a long time looking at the back of Jamie McKnight's car. Stephen Varga, meanwhile, as he tends to do, he's quite content to just keep up with these guys in front and not really poke his nose in there, because he knows the chance that Poynton and McKnight are going to come together on a truck like this during the passing move is fairly high. So he may just pick up 2 spots from scraps if they do come together. So he's quite content to just hang in there and pick up the extra position if he can. Keep an eye in the background that Alex Kiedis has joined the fray as well. So this battle for 10th now a 4-way pack as we try and figure out who is going to find themselves inside the top 10 in just a couple of laps' time and pick up those all-important extra points in race number 1 here this evening. Mark Poynton still can't find a way past McKnight. Jamie McKnight, meanwhile, starting to drop ever so slightly further back from Brian Minogue in P9, and a lot of that, I'm sure, is just due to him having to change the line to keep Poynton and Varga behind him. It takes its toll. It really does.
One thing that I find very interesting, Jared, in a category or a series where we so frequently focus on the best improvers and the people who have absolutely had a drive where even in these sprint races they'll pass 10, 12 cars. If Mark Poynton can get past Jamie McKnight, he will move to equal best result as far as moving forward in the pack, and he will have moved 4 spots from his starting position. So, just to reiterate just how hard it is to pass here, currently the very best that we've seen is someone up 4 spots.
Its strategy is going to be everything.
Yeah, look, absolutely, and I really didn't believe, what you were saying before about Matt Vanderkraan, and there's still definitely a piece of me, Jared, that just thinks that race drivers don't have it built into them to decide
hold off like that. Yeah, agreed.
To hold off, but if on the proviso that he certainly won't be upset about comfortably sitting in 5th at the moment. Is he fast enough for a win in the second race? I don't know. Matt Vanderkraan's a strategy whiz. Is he deliberately sandbagging this race to hold on to 5th? Maybe. If he is, he's a more controlled race driver than anyone else that I know, because myself included, passing a car at the end of a race, or at any point in a race, to be honest, Jared, it's a little bit like waving a big juicy carrot in front of us. We'll always do it. I would be surprised if he's happy to sit there in 5th, but also as a good quality measured race driver. Oh, Mark Poynton there, big slide through the last corner. That is absolutely giving Varga every incentive that he needs to dive down the inside at turn 1. He sticks the nose in, realises that he's not far enough up, and quietly backs out of that. But Jamie McKnight in front will be breathing a huge sigh of relief as he sees what was just a so incredibly tight battle for the last number of laps has just eked itself out to 7/10, which, it's not a huge amount, Jared, but he's going to breathe a big sigh of relief when he looks in his mirrors.
I'd be pretty happy with an extra 7/10 compared to what he has been running with over the last little while. The pressure now, of course, all on Poynton to hold off Stephen Varga, who's just completely latched on to that rear bar. And in turn, Alex Kiedis, look at how close they are coming out of Moss Corner there. Varga had an awesome opportunity last lap to get a pass done here. And you can see Poynton going very, very defensive. He knows he has to hold Varga off here because he's got the pace. Varga's looking to the outside now. He's got a little bit of a run on. Is it going to be enough, though, to get through? He is up alongside. Can he go around the outside? He can't this time as they make their way past some lap traffic. We come on to the final lap now. Scott Gamble continues to lead this one with Wayne Walker and Jamie Dyke still holding on to 2nd and 3rd. The battle here for 11th, though, as Poynton slides the rear end around that final turn onto the main straight. Those tyres very little left in them.
As well, Jared.
It's going to be tight. Yeah, Vargas is pushing very, very hard.
Yeah, and unfortunately coming onto that main straight there, Vargas had a slide at the exact same time as Poynton, so not able to capitalise on any of those mistakes. And of course, Alex Kiedis sitting in the background just looking at these two, absolutely licking his lips. Probably doesn't have the overall speed at the moment to make any huge moves, but is pretty content to watch those two battle it out and maybe trip over each other. We do now jump to the front. Our leader, Scott Gamble, leading Wayne Walker. This is closed right up. I'm not 100% sure.
Wayne Walker's found an extra gear here. I think Gamble's had a bit of a foot wrong on that last turn. It's coming out of 5 and it's opened the door ever so slightly, and here we go. The last couple of turns, Scott Gamble has led this from start to finish. He maintains the position. Wayne Walker just gets outbraked there, and Scott Gamble comes through. He will cross the finish line and take the win here in race 1. Wayne Walker right behind him. Jamie Dyke takes 3rd, Dean Logsdale 4th, and Matt Vanderkraan comes through right where he started in 5th position. The rest of the field rolling through now with Coleman and Stewart, then Clifton Minogue, Jamie McKnight, Stephen Varga holding off Alex Kiedis there for position 12, and we'll see the rest of the pack rolling on across the line now. What a ridiculously tight race that was. To see so many battles just continue for, I'm sure, at least 10 of those 15 laps. Huge race there, and it just shows the quality of the field, Jared. I don't really know what else to say. I've got to be honest. It's only 15 laps compared to 35 next time, but wow, what a way to really build up a really exciting second race there. There's going to be some battles. There's no doubt about that. We looked through the moves in that. We spoke about it a couple of times there, but very, very few drivers actually making much in the way of moves. The highest positions gained, Peter Latham in position 18 went up 4 positions, and that's it. There's a couple of people who've lost a number of positions. Paul McKee notably losing 7 because of his earlier incident, but tell you what, it is not a sprint race that has led to a whole lot of overtaking. We're just waiting on the last cars to officially finish this one out, and that is reliant, of course, on iRacing deciding that they are done. We have the results coming through now. So Heat 1, Scott Gamble takes the win by almost a second in the end over Wayne Walker. Jamie Dyke taking some solid points there, so starting to claw back just a little at Matt Vanderkraan's 50-point championship lead, so that'll bring him 7 points closer. Of course, these points provisional, and some bonus points, and of course any penalties to be considered. But all in all, a very, very clean race number 1 for us here tonight, Josh. I would love to see that continue for 35 laps. I think if the pace is that high, though, across those 35, it's unlikely at this stage that it's going to be quite that tidy.
I don't know, these guys these guys are good. What I do think is going to happen is what I have come to learn through watching that race is just how hard it is to pass. I didn't expect it, I'll be honest. So, at the start, I really talked about, the way that people could win through, the moves that they'll make and, the opportunity to move forward. Obviously, that's less the case. What we are about to see, Jared, is a genuine strategy race, and that's exciting. There will be the opportunity for people to move forward through really good quality strategy, and that just makes everything so exciting. Everything's going to be up in the air. We're going to be like those jugglers that you see somewhere like the Burke Street Mall down in Melbourne, and then you have 35 balls up in the air, and all of a sudden they're all going to come down, and we're going to try our very best to catch them all in the right order.
I think I'm most impressed that you've had enough cultural exposure to know about Burke Street Mall, mate. That's very impressive indeed.
I surprise every day.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the sprint race. We're getting ready, of course, for race number 2. 35 laps lie ahead of us. 2 compulsory pit stops in their reverse. Top 5 means that Matt Vanderkraan will be taking the point position for the start of race number 2. Right now, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors. We will be right back with you to get revved up and ready for race 2 here at Mosport. Stick with us. Welcome back, folks. I hope you've taken the opportunity to refill your favourite drink, maybe give yourself a bit of a comfort break, and getting ready to settle in with us for race number 2. On behalf of everyone here at Simple Racing Broadcast, we would like to welcome you back to Mosport, the Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercar Series. Season 4 continues, and round 8 already shaping up to be a very, very interesting one. Very little opportunity for passing there in race number 1, Josh. So pit strategies. Let's have a think about this. 35 laps, 2 compulsory pit stops. The chance of a safety car is there, but we did see a very tidy race number 1. So you think the drivers are considering whether they perhaps just have to count on pit stops being under race conditions here?
Yeah, I think they will, and within reason, some of them will no doubt want that. Race strategy is something that comes to some people, and others, really don't have that organic, understanding or knack for it. I think that this race is all going to be about knowing, what happens when you pit on different laps. Do you want the undercut? Do you want the overcut? How can you read the situation that you're in the race to make sure that you maximise it? If you're in traffic, that you just get out. But if you're in traffic at the front of the grid, do you get out of traffic and simply put yourself in traffic again, but at the back of the grid with even slower drivers? So all that sort of stuff is going to be running through their minds. I think it's hard enough to drive a supercar around here in a 15-lap sprint race. Try driving a supercar around here in a 35-lap race where you're also doing all your own fuel and strategy calculations. It's going to be really exciting to see, can Matt Vanderkraan hold on to the lead through some really good strategy, or does he just not have the speed of the cars around to keep out the front?
We'll have to wait and see. So a reminder of the grid positions here. Matt Vanderkraan takes pole with the reverse top 5 grid alongside Dean Logsdale, and Jamie Dyke and Wayne Walker find themselves in the middle. Scott Gamble relegated to 5th spot for this start. And then from David Coleman back, everybody getting ready to start in their finishing order. We're going to go down to the grid straight away because these drivers are getting set up pretty quickly. We'll be underway in no time here, I am sure. Just waiting, of course, on the remaining drivers to grid up. It's one for us to really keep an eye on here tonight, and just watch this battle, particularly between Jamie Dyke and Matt Vanderkraan. Both of them starting very, very, very much towards the front of this grid. In fact, Jamie Dyke will be lined up immediately behind Vanderkraan. So if Vanderkraan doesn't get a good start here, expect Dyke to pounce on that. The battle for the championship could not be closer, and to have both of them starting at the front of the grid here for race 2 means that it's going to look fairly easy for us to watch initially, but we're going to have to keep a really, really close eye on this battle throughout race number 2 here. Question in the chat from BG: how many of these guys have spotters? To my knowledge, I don't believe any of these guys actually do use spotters in this race. It is, look, there's a bit of communication between teammates. I know there's a whole lot of the team Discord channels set up here with the ASR Discord, but I don't think they've actually got anyone external actually spotting for them. If that gives you any kind of indication there, BG, it's a pretty unusual thing.
Just a little look, Jared, behind the fourth wall though. What often happens is obviously if you take the role in iRacing of spotter, you actually lose the iRacing spotter, and there's a couple of other things that happen. What a number of people will do is they'll have people join as spectators, so we won't be able to tell that they're there, and then they'll just be in something like a Discord voice chat with them. So it's uncommon that someone would use another driver as a genuine spotter, but it wouldn't be that uncommon for some of these teams to have drivers who don't race V8s doing a little bit of strategy and calculations for what would essentially be the whole team.
Yeah, and I know we have seen, although not spotters, we've certainly seen the use of, let's call them, race engineers before, just to help with fuel calculations along the way and similar. Getting a little worried, we're getting very, very close to the end of the start time here. We are just about, I think, ready to go, but still a lot of drivers to make the grid. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm just trying to mentally calculate when we're actually going to be going racing based on the race control reset of the grid time. I think though we should be looking pretty good in about, we'll call it 20 seconds time. We'll get the green flag at the back of the field and be ready to go racing. It's one of those things, it's very helpful. I appreciate the race control team here so much for actually extending the grid time for these second races. because otherwise we can get caught out with them starting way too quickly. But right now, we are getting underway. Race number 2, our feature race this evening, 35 laps. We are underway. Matt Vanderkraan gets a phenomenal start and begins immediately trying to pull away from Jamie Dyke in P3. Dean Logsdale, unfortunately not the start that he will have wanted as they make their way around Mosport for the first lap of this second race here tonight. A big accident in the background. Damon Fisher and James Hardy have come together on turn number 1. Does that mean we're going to see a safety car come out immediately? We'll have to wait and see. Race Control, of course, have control of this at this point. Not at this stage seeing either of the safety car drivers making their way in just yet, but a predictable accident, honestly. Turn 1, it's kind of where you expect to see it happen, isn't it?
Absolutely it is, and unfortunately for Dean Logsdale, another average start tonight, dropping down to 4th off the line. Disappointing for Dean and all of the Team AJR fans and fraternity out there. However, for us as series fans and impartial commentators, how tantalising our two championship combatants, both 1 and 2, 0.16 of a second apart from each other. Jamie Dyke probably, oh no, Matt Vanderkraan in the wall, heavy. Jamie Dyke immediately slowing. That looks to me like a touch between the two with the way that Dyke has slowed down. Vanderkraan has had a huge incident. Looks like he has made it back to pits. He will take his fast repair. These guys do all get one fast repair. He will be taking one of his CPS. This won't be the absolute tragedy that it may have looked like. However, if there was a touch in between the two, that could be far more disappointing for Jamie Dyke. It will be interesting to keep a close eye on the stewards' notes, Jared, and maybe we can go back and have a look. We didn't quite see whether that was a touch between the two or whether Dyke simply got on the brakes to avoid a spinning Matt Vanderkraan.
Yeah, very interesting one there, but it has resulted in quite a bit of change up front. To Benji's point, Dean's start was not actually an awful start objectively. It's just that in this sort of company, it is absolutely it's a difficult one, right? Because these guys are so good off the line. Yeah, safety car has been called by Race Control. So Tim Lawson out in the Ford Mustang GT3 safety car. And watch them all dive into the pits. Here they go.
Everyone goes to pits.
Every single person, with the exception, mind you, of Alex Kiedis is going to try and make the most of this and push on. That's going to be a very, very crowded pit lane. Look, I don't know what the right call is here, but you can see the 24/7 Sim Services safety car out on track. Very, very easy to see. Kiedis going past the safety car.
Wow, that'll
there we go.
Yeah, he's pulled up.
I don't know if he realised it had been called there and was wondering why it was out on track, or perhaps didn't realise that he was actually the front of the line at this point. That's entirely possible as well.
He may have also thought that since he wasn't the leader as they crossed the line, that he didn't have to wait. But nonetheless, he has waited. Bold strategy from Kiedis, potentially a mistake. I do believe that literally every single other car has pitted. I'll be interested. I haven't done the math, Jared. I don't believe that these guys will get through 32 laps on half a tank of fuel. It'd be close, because here's a crazy stat. My opinion is that Matt Vanderkraan would have been out of pits before that safety car was called. And he's now back in 23rd. I am wondering whether Matt Vanderkraan has simply gone around the track and dived back in for his second stop, because the drivers are only permitted to make one stop under safety car. However, if and it doesn't look like he did it, he's only showing us one. So
yeah, look, I thought he actually did come back in for a second one there. I could have sworn that he was out and back again for a second stop there. But maybe after all of that he wasn't. That's interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I certainly saw his name pop up there, and
Right, so I'm not
and
imagining
thought
it.
that
That's good.
potentially he'd
That's good.
No, maybe we're both somehow imagining it. But look, Luke Allman makes the chat. Time to fill up. Absolutely. These guys are capped at 50% of their tank, so that is somewhere in the vicinity of 66 litres. But they will have filled absolutely to the brim. And yeah, Luke, you've made that call out there. They wouldn't have been able to put much in. So usually they start with 50 litres on board. They have 50% cap, so there would have been 15, 16 litres that they could put in. Let's call it 20 by the time they've done a lap. But yeah, not a huge amount, and definitely still a fuel stop to come at the second CPS.
Let's go back and take a look at a couple of these. Matt Vanderkrant is now in for his second stop. So he has come back in for the second on this lap around. That's going to require some fuel saving on his part, but not impossible. But it does mean that he'll have his 2 stops done, where the rest of the field has about 40 odd seconds left to spend in the pits. And if another safety car doesn't come around, it's not going to be anywhere near as efficient as this stop will be for Matt Vanderkrant. Let's go back and take a look at the lap 1 incidents. Damon Fisher getting very sideways through turn 1 and just ending up in front of James Hardy there. We did see then at the same time David Logsdale going off track just a couple of cars ahead. And that's from a big nudge there. That's car number 26. I believe that might be Simon Haynes, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry. Car 26 is position 26. Come on, Jared, switch on, mate. It's been one of those nights, I swear. I'm trying to figure out who it was that's giving him the big nudge, but David Logsdale finding himself very sideways. Might have been Todd Martin even, as we take another look back at it. But Todd Martin's had a big moment, lost all his steering straight into that wall, and there goes the engine. That'll be what's brought on the safety car. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, Jared, if my math is correct, and I do note that I would have used a different amount of fuel compared to these guys last night through my abhorrent lack of knowledge of this track, but I am estimating that a driver can do 21 laps on a full 50% tank of fuel.
So run that by me again. Well, there's definitely contact there from Dyer.
There is definitely contact there.
Yeah.
Not sure how that'll be assessed. Vanderkrant looked like he was slowing. Maybe had already ran wide. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a slow lap across the wrist coming. It may just be by way of championship point, but also considering how big the impact was, it very well could be a drive-through or some other time penalty. Now, Jared, the number that I have come up with is 21 laps. 22 probably. It's 21.7 is the number of laps that I have come up with that a driver can do on a 50% tank of fuel around this track.
Which means that Vanderkrant's going to be very light on. I can't see.
He's going to save 8 laps of fuel in 30. That's a huge task. Yeah, I don't think that it can be done, Jared. So, I look, not a bad, given where Matt Vanderkrant already was. Doesn't hurt much to jump in, take that splash and dash. It's all time. It's essentially a free pit stop, right? He only lost 3 positions. Take that extra lap of fuel, and it's a couple of seconds less that you have to stop next time.
Alex Kiedis, meanwhile, still hasn't actually come in for his pit stop, so he's elected to stay out there right through the safety car period. And he's going to push on. Now, that's really interesting. Dean Logsdale having a big moment through Moss Corner. He's ended up well off track and just continues to drop. I'm not actually sure what's happened to Dean, but that has been a huge incident for him. Let's go back and see if we can figure out just what's actually happened as we go back up front. The battle for first rages on. Dean Logsdale, a big dive, contact there with David Coleman, spins him around. No damage there though. Has he had another car come flying through into him while he's been waiting to rejoin? Because there's certainly more damage there than what we saw before. Interesting. Okay, maybe iRacing just playing a few tricks on us with the condition of the car.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yes,
Fine.
potentially.
Keeps on our toes. Thank you, iRacing. Much appreciated. Wayne Walker now starting to make a move on Kitas as he gets through on the inside, as does Scott Gamble. Jamie Dyke will be looking to go with them as well, but he's going to have a little bit more work to do, and that is really indicative of, again, just what happens when you fall off that racing line through some of these high-speed corners. Kitas losing 2 positions in essentially the one series of turns there. Not quite what he would have hoped for, but look, still up the front at the moment. The problem for him, of course, is that he's got 2 compulsory pit stops to make, and those drivers around have already done their first. I wonder what the strategy here is for Alex in the Old Mate and Sons entry.
Panic. Is about the only strategy that he's got left. He will know by now. He has absolutely fumbled this one. It's a big shame. He needs 2 safety cars. 1 safety car, everyone else dives in, and he only gets 1 stop done. A second safety car, maybe he can get in and out and minimise the damage. But yeah, look, he's hurting. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
And at this point, what he really needs is a safety car caused by the cars in front of him that doesn't take him out. So he needs Wayne Walker and Scott Gamble to take each other out for him to survive and be able to race through ahead of the pack and get into the pit lane with some decent distance behind him before the safety car gets out on track. And even that is a huge ask. Massive miscalculation. I do wonder, what the plan was there. Mark Poynton finds himself back in 18th right now as he comes in alongside Troy Sipple, barges his way through on Moss Corner and makes it stick. Sipple forced wide, and he'll be looking to get the drive as they enter onto Andretti Straight once again. But Poynton just showing us the pace that he's been known for all season. As a relative newcomer to this series, we've seen plenty of it from him. Brian Minogue, another newcomer here for Season 4 and the SLS Racing entry, starting to make his mark, but right now under quite a bit of pressure from Michael Stewart in the Balance Stewart Foundation Racing entry 919 Camaro. And there you go, a pit lane penalty for car 666 for the incident with car 505. So that's James Hardy getting a drive-through penalty for that earlier contact, which is, look, it's interesting. I didn't think that was turn one. Yeah, I didn't think there was actually contact that caused that, but we clearly missed it. Happening just a little earlier, that sort of that sent Damon Fisher sideways. So there it is, Rick Vigar getting a drive-through as well. So a few of them starting to play through. Jamie Dyke.
There we go, Jamie Dyke.
So he'll be serving a drive-through here. So that's going to be, about a 30-second penalty. Is about the transit time here, give or take. Maybe a tad less. Let's call it 25 seconds transit time of a relatively short pit lane here at Mosport. Mosport, I'm still not decided on which one I like. But yeah, plenty of work to do, and Jamie Dyke's going to drop a long way down, which does even the stakes a little when it comes to the championship standings. Alex Kitas right now under pressure from Jamie Dyke, because Jamie, I think, looking to get as far ahead as he possibly can before he comes to serve that drive-through. And flashing the lights there, he wants through here. He's being held up by Kitas. He knows he has to get moving. David Coleman in the background looming, his fishy teammate, starting to put the screws to those behind him and just extend the lead further and further away. We'll take a look a little bit further back. Rick Vigar has Hoffman and Haynes on his tail, so the West Automotive Angry Birds Racing entry under some serious pressure right now. Southern Cross Racing and Quantum Tint Solutions, Quantum Racing teams right there on his tail. And look, a fair bit to be done here for Rick Vigar as he desperately tries to hold on to P10. He's had a very, very good pit stop to put himself into that position. And he's currently sitting up 5 spots from where he started. So far tonight, a pretty good night for Rick. I'm not going to watch him for too long though, because I don't want to be the cause of something going wrong. We've done it to him a couple of times this season, I think.
It's half the fun about a commentator, isn't it, Jared?
Probably. We've got to take some joy in it occasionally. Further up, Brian Minogue has still dealing with Michael Stewart, who just will not get off his tail at this point. the view back from his car, this is roughly what Brian Minogue will be able to see out the rear view of that Gen 3. And it is just absolutely full of Camaro right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just having a look. Luke Ullman calling out 4 AJR cars together. So that must be Johnson, Fisher, Logsdale.
I think Logsdale's a couple spots back, although maybe running with them just at the moment. We'll go and we'll take a quick look at that further back through the pack, and here they are. So Andrew Johnston, Damon Fisher, Dean Logsdale, all lined up there. David Logsdale back in 25th. So
I've got to say, Jared, these cars are just fantastic looking race cars, and even more fantastic when they are side by side. They a couple of genuinely good looking race cars. These things are.
Yeah, pretty professionally done. The big NZ on the side does make it look super lifelike when you compare it to some of the real world teams that you expect to see out on track. We'll jump forward though, have a look at this train going on. We've got Kiedis ahead of Coleman, Minogue, Stewart and Barger now as they make
Dyke
their way.
in the pits.
The Dyke's going through for his drive through. I imagine he'll just be serving that rather than going in for his second stop at this point.
Does he get out in front of Vanderkran?
Yeah, that'll be the question.
No is the answer. I don't believe. Oh, maybe he has. Right, with Vanderkran
has just made it out ahead. So 7/10 in it, which I think is probably about the fairest outcome I can think of. They've just swapped positions a little, so that sort of demonstrates that drive-through. In this instance, almost the perfect size penalty, considering what went wrong for Vanderkran as a result.
If we do have a look at it though. So Matt Vanderkran, as we said, has made his 2 stops. We do expect him to need a third. It's a pretty good outcome. It's pretty fair.
Yeah, I can't argue with that one. David Coleman, he's looking to make a move on Kiedis here. Keep an eye on him as he shoots the inside. Late on the brakes. He's not going to get to send it just yet. Manages to pull it up and just slot back in behind, but he's putting huge pressure on the Old Mate and Sons entry. Oh, big moment there for Michael Stewart. Very sideways. Manages to recover it, but only just. He's going to lose a position to Mick Clifton as Alex Kiedis comes in, I imagine, to... he's serving that drive-through there. Shouldn't be. He's headed for the pit base, so he's making his second stop. Okay. That's an interesting one for Kiedis. Although, no, sorry, his first stop. Kiedis.
Yeah, this is his first stop.
His first stop.
I would have ran longer, to be honest, Jared. I would have let the field spread out as far as possible to minimise the number of cars that pass me. But also, I'm not there racing tonight, so I don't get much of a say, I'm going to be honest.
I was going to say, maybe it's time we actually put you into the field here as a bit of a wildcard entry one of these rounds. What do you reckon?
Look, I'll jump in. I'll even commentate while I'm doing it. But in a 25-car field, I would probably expect me to find a way to run about 30th.
You know what? I'm going to have a chat to Mr. Sipple and, of course, Rick Barker and see if we can't make that happen in one of these rounds. I'm all for it.
I'll tell you what, I'll even run, if you can make it happen, and I do some level of commentary, I will even...
big contact. Troy Sipple into the side of Jamie Dyke, and Dyke has gone absolutely flying. That engine is done.
Things go from bad to worse for Jamie Dyke.
Into the wall. That contact on the way up and over the hill. He's certainly come off the worst.
Safety car, Jared. ASR have a requirement. If cars need to tow for engine-related things, they throw a safety car. I am 99% sure that this is going to be a safety car. Alex Kiedis, whilst he's a long way down, has made his stop on green. Everyone else will be diving to pit lane if the safety car comes here. I'm just waiting. It's been a long time, but Dyke isn't going to be towing from there. Isn't going to be driving back from there. That is a huge incident. We'll have to go back and have a bit of a squiz. But yeah, what a night for Jamie Dyke.
And
There we go.
safety car's
There's
been
the
called.
safety car. Right as the leader comes down the back straight. Couldn't be a better timing for the leader. Every single person will now file in, including Alex Kiedis. Alex got probably the better of a couple of worse situations, Jared. The absolute ideal for Alex would have been that he was still out at this safety car and then there was a third. But if he can't, being able to minimise his damage now by pitting with everyone else will be really good. How many laps have we got to go, Jared? 22
laps.
21 laps to go, and what was the magic number that I gave you?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Does Vanderkruijs come
Now
in?
these guys will.
He is.
These guys will save. Yeah, so Matt Vanderkruijs will have to do a third. These guys will save fuel under safety car, so they will absolutely get home from here. And in fact, not only will they get home, they'll have the opportunity to really have a real crack at it. Lorne McKee having a cruise around. His time to shine in the sun. He'll rack up a lead lap here. Has Lorne pitted twice somehow?
No, he's only pitted once. So
Okay.
interesting. Maybe counting on a later pit or perhaps another safety car somewhere down the track. But yeah, look, an interesting choice again. We saw it with Kiedis and McKee taking an alternative strategy. Let's go back and take a look at just what's happened with Jamie Dyke and Troy Sipple as we go further back. You can see a bit of contact there, a little bit of panel rubbing. Jamie Dyke comes across. Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting one.
I'm glad I'm not in the RC booth. I can. Yeah, this is touch and go, Joe. These are the sorts of calls that really can go either way. A little bit of a touch there. Dyke not really impressed. He's moving across. However, what I would say,
looks like he was holding his line to me.
Yeah, the only thing though, Jared, the call that I'll make, and every series has a slightly different rulebook, and I haven't read the ASR rulebook from cover to cover, but a driver is only required to give the car beside one car width space, typically, from the edge. So Jamie Dyke, well within his right there to continue to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and try and open the corner up as best he can for him. Sipple, I believe it was, held his line. But that causes the contact, and Sipple still had room to the left where he could have moved. These guys may have a slightly different interpretation on it, but you know, I can see how that goes against Sipple. If there is an interpretation that you can't squeeze someone no matter what, then I can see how that gets left as no further action. At the end of the day, though, from Jamie Dyke's perspective, it actually doesn't matter. At this point, Sipple's not in championship. He's not in championship equation, and Dyke's car's in a million pieces in the pits.
It absolutely is. And Matt Vanderkruijs, look, honestly, at this point, probably counting his lucky stars. He's down in 16th, so not where he'd like to be in terms of the championship standings. But at this point, that issue for Jamie Dyke, that accident, that incident, is going to have a significant impact on the championship. And yeah, look, I think Matt Vanderkruijs probably breathing a sigh of relief because that pit strategy wasn't quite looking like a successful one for him. We'll have to see how it plays out over the next 20 laps. But as it stands, look, Jamie Dyke is back out on track, so he's managed to get that repair done very, very quickly indeed, which is good to see. But yeah, he's going to have some work to do now because he does find himself already a lap down. The question is, will he get a wave around or not under this safety car? And it's not often that we see that happening at this stage of a safety car. So we'll just have to wait and see how the remaining laps of this race play out. We've still got 20 to go. We're only 15 in. If you're saying the magic number is 21 laps, and we are, of course, under safety car right now, which means these guys are saving a bit of fuel. So it does mean that it will be an all-out sprint from here to the end, as all of the field, bar just a couple of drivers, have made both their stops already with the two safety car periods that we've seen so far. The only drivers yet to make their second stops, Lorne McKee in first right now, James Hardy in position 10, and that is the sum total of it. The remainder of these drivers have all made their second, and in some cases third, pit stops.
it's been an interesting race for strategy, hasn't it, Jared? Some drivers making 3 pit stops. If Matt Vanderkraan can have a real crack at this, and I appreciate the fact that he's in 16th, but if he can pick off a couple of those cars in front, maybe get back to the back of the top 10. Obviously, it's a huge effort from here, but still, if you went to Matt Vanderkraan and said to him, at the end of lap 1, when you're face first in a wall with a car in pieces, would you take 10th? He's going to say yes every day of the week.
100%.
And so interesting. It's an interesting strategy from him to keep coming in and filling up and taking additional pit stops, but hard to argue that it's a bad one when he's sitting in 16th place, having some of the most pit stops in the class, in the race, and having been in the fence. So, it's pretty good.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break as the safety car makes its way around for another lap, and we will be back with the action in just a moment. As we pick it back up, the safety car still leading our group of drivers around here on lap 16 of 35, and a couple of wave arounds starting to happen. As you see, this is Todd Martin screaming up the right hand side. I believe it was Todd Martin then. He just come flying through on his wave around. I tell you what, the speed differential when I'm doing the daily commute, one of the most dangerous things is the speed differential between the lanes on the motorway, right? To see a Gen 3 supercar come past a lane of traffic at that sort of speed differential, I'm thinking maybe it's not so bad on the M1.
Look, and just quickly before we go racing, Jared, you and I happened to do a race on the weekend, Gen 3 Supercars versus MX-5s at Daytona Super Speedway. Now, that was a speed differential, and I was very happy to be in a Gen 3 Supercar and not in an MX-5, may I just say.
Let's not talk about you putting me into the wall, eh? We'll come back to that one. As we go racing again, Lon McKee leads the pack away. Lap 17 gets underway. Scott Gamble right there behind him, and looking to make it a double tonight if he can hang on at the front of this pack. These guys, we believe, should be well and truly within the fuel window to make it to the end here after the pit stops under that safety car. And so from here, I don't expect that there should be too much of a question as to whether or not they've got the fuel to make it home. It's a big ask, of course, to hold it together for that number of laps. It's a lot of driving, and the tyres, you would have to think at the end of that sort of time frame, are going to be feeling it as well, because it's not a particularly taxing circuit in terms of length, but certainly the high speed will be scrubbing these tyres pretty significantly. So the tyre wear might be a little more than you perhaps expect from such a short circuit, Josh.
Yeah, thankfully these tyres, we talk about, and we talked about in the first race, we talk about the second wind. They actually don't come good, or they don't come better. They just stop wearing so aggressively. So they definitely have this, there's this point when you strap new boots on, when you get a couple of laps where you just feel like you've got the world's fastest car under you, and it's just the best feeling. You think you think you're Ayrton Senna or Michael Schumacher for about 120 seconds, and then all of a sudden the wheels just fall off your wagon, and you just watch your lap times tumble, and you can put in what feels like such a good lap, and you look down and you're 2.5 or 3 tenths slower than the lap before, and then again and again and again and again and again, and you lose all this time, and then suddenly they just stop losing time. And they really settle into a nice rhythm, and we talk about the second win because suddenly the car feels relatively nice again because you can turn out consistent laps. We see again Poynton absolutely owning Moss Corner. He is 100% convinced that is the most appropriate passing spot on the track. It is a bold move, but he is continuing to go for it. Anyway, Jared, by the end of this race, I think that these cars will be in that sweet spot where the guys can just turn out consistent laps without just losing more and more and more time. As we do up the front, see Wayne Walker has put on a move to get past Scotty Gamble. I wonder whether we can just dive back in a couple of seconds, Jared, and see that, as we absolutely can. Big run down the Mario Andretti straight. Got to wonder whether Scott Gamble had a poor run off of Moss Corner. In the end, a pretty darn easy pass for Wayne Walker. He will be happy. Out the front, he's been there a couple of times this year, and usually when he gets there, he converts. I'll be interested to see whether he just disappears. We now dive quickly back. One of the Southern Cross racing cars.
Getting up all sorts of room, but just managing to avoid direct contact with the edge of that concrete barrier.
I did think for a moment, Jared, that he was just going to go headlong into the end of that concrete wall, which would have been equally disappointing.
Yeah, it was a close one, and that would have been probably race-ending damage, I think, because look at the point on that concrete barrier.
Did I just see a penalty for car 543 pop up?
You did. Car 543 to redress car 217. So Scott Gamble and Wayne Walker. So that could explain Wayne Walker going past. So that would be Scott Gamble redressing that pit lane infringement. So that makes a lot more sense, because I had no idea how on earth Scott Gamble had gotten a straight so wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. But he did a nice job there. He let out at the appropriate time, didn't lose any excessive time. We see Logsdale, by the look of it, down the inside of Matt Vanderkar, is it?
It looks as though he's making the move. Yeah, he's pushing through, and you can see big moment for a couple
both in the fence.
Yeah, that was
Logsdale and Vanderkar.
So that's cost him a couple of spots. Jamie Dyke, meanwhile, he may be a lap down, but he's pushing up through the field just ahead of them. That was probably not what they had in mind there, I suspect.
I can probably agree with you there, Jared. I'm very surprised that there's limited damage. Looked like they hooked tyres on the way out. Yeah, so just in, and both glancing that concrete wall. So very lucky to get that flush. That is one thing about these supercars. If you run them up against a wall like that, as long as you don't have any steering lock on with the front wheel when you do it, you should get away with it. So it looks like they've both managed to sneak away with that, which is fantastic to see for both of those guys.
Lon P just managing to hold on to P4 here. Brian Minogue looking very, very threatening. And Stephen Varga right behind him. Can they get it done on the last corner? Not quite this time around, but they'll settle in behind McPhee. Minogue is pushing hard. He's going to be looking to the inside as they make their way to turn one. Not quite enough to put a move on just yet. Varga also just hovering in the background, just waiting for the inevitable mistake here. And McPhee under the absolute most intense pressure I can imagine. Right now he's got 4 cars all within a second of him right at the moment in his mirrors. And not my favourite position to be as a driver, I'll tell you that much.
No, my favourite position as a driver is where Wayne Walker is. Every other position is suboptimal.
Yeah, I think that about sums it up, really. Not much more to say on it. We'll take a look back to Dean Logsdale, who is starting to recover a little from that off track. He's made his way past Alex Kiedis and now looking for an opportunity to get past Caperonis as they make their way through Moss Corner onto Andretti Straight once again. Big moment for Logsdale as he puts the foot down, trying to control all 600 horses and managing a pretty bloody good job of it. And Luke Orman asking if Lorne still needs to pit, he absolutely does. So still only one pit stop to his name. The second one yet to come. Pretty much the tale of it tonight, isn't it? The pit stops have been the deciding factor in where everyone's ended up at this point, bar those couple of fairly significant incidents that we've seen bring on safety cars. It's about what we were expecting to see. Out in front though, Wayne Walker and Scott Gamble, that clean air making a huge difference for them. They are feeling fairly comfortable, and even while battling with each other, not really losing a whole lot of time to David Coleman in position 3 right now.
No, they're pretty comfortable, and obviously different teams, but they are no doubt just moving forward. I'm not sure whether Wayne is just a little bit more comfortable than Scott and has just a little bit more pace, or whether Scott is just deliberately hanging back. Probably knows that the longer he's in front, the longer he would need to defend for. So every possibility that Scott is happy to run around just a bit over a tenth behind, although he is really starting to range up now. He appears to be making a move at the front of the field, Jared. They are side by side, but it doesn't look like Scott Gamble managed to get that pass done. And we now do focus all the way back. The battle for 10th, as we see 4 or 5 cars all line astern. Jamie Dyke there, it looked like, getting really caught up in this. Jamie, we know how fast he is. He'll be seeing red as well. I think that there would be just a bit of steam around the inside of that car at the moment. His ears would be whistling away like a little teapot, and no doubt he is going to be moving forward. I'm not 100% sure that it's going to achieve much, but it will probably make him feel better if he's able to just put in some really good quality fast laps.
This is a solid 10-car battle pack we've got right now. From Simon Farrington in position 10 back to Damon Fisher in 20th, only 4 seconds separating them, which is pretty much the length of this group.
And of course, Jamie Dyke in there in the middle as a lapped car.
Just adding a bit of space to it, yeah.
Yeah, and really, really interesting train building up. These trains look very impressive. Typically are formed up behind a slow driver at the front, and just like your morning commute, if everybody plays the game, they all move past one at a time. But of course, as you can see here, from Mark Poynton putting a move on Latham, not all as we see Latham locks up the rears from being so tight and clatters into the back of Mark Poynton, who tumbles down through the list.
And then gone on to take Rick Vigar. So Vigar getting caught up in
that.
And then a Southern Cross car has Andrew Hoffman's been caught up in that as well.
So the point I was just making, Jared, is that if people don't play the game and pass one by one nicely, it is a whole heap of action. And almost like they read my mind. Yeah, almost like they read my mind. They went and delivered for us. It was fantastic.
We'll go back and take a look at the mess that was there, because Mark Poynton really involved in pretty well all of it. And I'm not quite sure what happened to Peter Latham there. It's like he just couldn't get any grip in those front tyres. But then the rejoin from Poynton straight into Rick Vigar, I'm sure we'll be hearing something about that in the not too distant future from the steward. We'll leave it to them to figure out for the moment though, as we see a whole bunch of cars coming in and out, and of course we are under another safety car, because that is Andrew Hoffman absolutely stranded in the middle of the track.
Well, Lorne McKee, right on cue, has dived into pits. Now he will be trying to get his pit done absolutely as quickly as possible before many more people catch up. Get out, join the queue. Maybe he gets out of this better than he might have otherwise expected. We do see another safety car. Interesting, isn't it, Jared? We saw that first race, really quite clean driving, reasonably tame. Throw a couple of pit stops in, and suddenly what happens? A little bit of strategy, faster guys behind slower guys, and before you know it, cars off everywhere. It's a shame to see that there has definitely been a couple of key players in not only this race but the championship as well who have had a bad race. There's been mistakes all round And of course, that's not how we want to see our championships, decided in any way, shape or form. I have a feeling that this round is still eligible for the drop. And what we saw here, Jared, is the Southern Cross racing car. Just lit up the rears, Andrew Hoffman. So it looks to me like the initial bit of a slide happened, and then he's ended up centre punching that wall when he lit the rears up, and unfortunately has needed a tow, which under regs here means that he ends up with a safety car for the field. It does mean, just so you're aware, Jared, if you didn't know, and certainly for our viewers, if you are the cause of a safety car, ineligible for a waiver round under that safety car. So we will see people like Jamie Dyke get set free, we would expect, but certainly Hoffman will get his repair done, get back out on the back of the train. But as the safety car was called for his stricken vehicle, he is ineligible for a waiver round.
Yeah, not ideal. He almost got away with that. Did a great job to avoid Rick Weigand getting turned sideways. Just very light contact, but unfortunately too eager to get underway, and he's absolutely brought it on himself in that instance. It's one of the dangers.
It is, and these cars are still, so hard to drive. It's so easy to make a mistake like that. We sit up here, little ivory tower that we've had, crafted for us here at ASR, and that, Jared, is to me, that's a we saw there, all the way on the inside. It's so difficult to break, and I think that was just a little bit of over-eager driving. Probably not.
That was terrifying, wasn't it? Like Peter Mason went absolutely spearing off the track there and got so lucky to not actually contact the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I don't think there's certainly no malice in it or anything like that. No. But, just poorly positioned the car, and, when it came time, he would have grabbed the brakes and suddenly realised the mistake that he'd made. Unfortunately, it doesn't make it any better for Mark Poynton, and it certainly doesn't make it any better for Hoffman. But, in Hoffman's perspective, a big slide overheats the rears. It's just so simple from that point on, to make those mistakes. You're trying to get up and running and not let anyone pass you, and before you know it, these things, they love a bit of wheel spin, and all of a sudden you face first into the wall, and it's super disappointing. So he'll be pretty bummed. There's no doubt about that. But the upside, if there is a silver lining to any of this, Jared, 10-lap sprint to the end with a pretty shaken up order. A couple of names up the top that we haven't seen for a while. Vargs has had a bit of a lean run. Brian Minogue, Michael Stewart up into 6th. Simon Haynes in 7th. If I'm not mistaken, Simon Haynes started way near the back in
17th, I believe. 17th in this race, mind you.
Yeah. So he's moved forward. Yeah. So he's moved forward race 1. 17th this race. Talk about being, missing, like anonymous in the field. He's done a fantastic job just to quietly sneak forward throughout both races.
Take a look at just the off-track again for Matt Vanderkraan.
So lucky to get away with that.
Yeah, that could have been huge damage. Really could have. So lucky to still be in it, even if he is in P13. And from a championship perspective, as we go green again, Wayne Walker gets up and running and has a sizable gap over Scott Gamble right from the start. Gets a good jump on him as we go racing once again. From a championship perspective, Vanderkraan very, very lucky, although it wouldn't be how he wants to see it happen. Very lucky to have Jamie Dyke relegated so far down the order by that incident. Look, we know Vanderkraan well enough to know that he'd never want to win a race or even make a significant gain in points through something like that happening to one of the other drivers on circuit. But as it plays out, that is what's happened this evening, and so, 13th position, not where Vetacron will want to be, but certainly not as bad as it could be, all things considered. A big moment for Jim Caperonis. He's sideways on the exit of 5. Alex Kiedis goes directly into him. If he can get that going again, hopefully not too much damage on that Southern Cross Racing Mustang. It's not looking great. He's struggling to get it moving.
Yeah, that's a really strange one.
Although looks fairly straight. I mean, the rear bumper's seen better days, but it's not crabbing or anything like that. So maybe just getting hung up a little bit on the actual curve of the track. Although that left rear certainly hanging out there just a little bit. We'll jump further forward anyhow and just see what's happening up front. Question in the chat from Luke Woolman: do we know when next season opens up for new drivers? We don't have dates just yet for you, Luke. However, generally speaking, there are usually about 3 or 4 weeks at least between seasons, and usually the new season will open up for existing drivers first. They'll get a couple of weeks to get their entries in, and then it will open up for new entrants. So we will try and sort out in the next couple of broadcasts. Make sure that we do have a link to the Discord available for you if you don't already have access. And that'll allow you to jump in, register your interest, and make sure that you've got a shot at getting in amongst the action here on track with the Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercar Series. Lap 28 of 35. I reckon we've spent a good 20 laps under safety car here tonight, it feels like, Josh. It's not been the most fluid of races that we've seen with ASR, but it's certainly delivered some excitement tonight.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure that we've spent 20 laps on a safety car, but what I will say is we've definitely spent a pretty decent percentage of our time under safety car. And of course, now these guys invigorated. If there was any requirement to fuel save at all, as we see another bit of contact, these guys...
what's happening there? Alex Kiedis has had a nudge and then made huge contact with, was that Damon Fisher? It was Damon Fisher getting caught up in that. We'll go back and have a look at that, because that was a very interesting moment, to say the least.
There was a bit of bumping going on there, Jared, and it looked to me like Fisher slowed up and Kiedis just didn't. Kiedis kept the boot in, and I'm not gonna lay a penalty out in front of anyone when I don't know the rules well enough. But what I think's going on here is. The airwaves would be alight with people, as we see here. Look, Kiedis is, bumping and grinding, and has in the end turned Fisher there, which is a shame to see. I think that these drivers, these airwaves are going to be absolutely alight with people. Commenting. There's been people up and down the field, and lots of argy-bargy, and lots of time behind safety car, and these guys have just descended into a level of chaos. There's no rhythm. A lot of people are out of position and just fighting as hard as they can to get anything at the end of the result, and probably not displaying the patience that they need to.
Yeah, and we've certainly seen a huge number of moves through the field compared to race 1. We're talking about how little change there was in the race order throughout that sprint over 15 laps. Right now, to give you some of the highlights, Simon Haynes is up 10 positions into P7, Simon Farrington up 16 into P8, Lon McKee is actually up 14, so managing to get that second pit stop done under that safety car has worked wonders for the Accelerate Sim Racing entry. Finds himself in at position 13. James Hardy's up 8 into 15th. The front end of the field, Stephen Varga on your screen right now, up 8 positions to find himself in position 4, and the front 3 all up 3 positions as well. It's been a much more turbulent timing tower than race number 1. Question from BG: do you have license point penalties? If you mean accumulated points over the course of the season, I believe there is a system of sorts in place that covers that, although I don't have it to hand right now for BG. I might ask Josh Harris to do a little bit of investigation on that. However, we are into the final 5 laps of this race, so I don't think we'll be looking away just at the moment. Alex Kiedis looking for a move up the inside of Hardy. Again, rubbing panels, they go side by side down the front straight, crossing the line to enter lap 31. Kitas a very, very shallow line, sticking really close to that inside curb, and that's cost him some pace. Andrew Johnston now an opportunity to pass around the outside, doesn't get it done, backs out, and he's actually going to lose position here to Peter Latham, who's got a much better run toward the apex of that corner. I think Kitas lucky to hold on to the spot there. That damage is clearly affecting his car at the moment, and it'll be pretty impressive if he manages to hold on to P15 at this stage.
Yeah, it will be, but there's no doubt that I think that he probably can. But some amazing stories coming out of tonight. Some disappointing ones, but some amazing ones of guys who have moved forward. And one of those stories, we spoke a couple of minutes ago, Jared, and I said if Van der Kraan can get back to 10, considering his lap 1 woes, I think he would be happy. And sure enough, Matt Van der Kraan doing Matt Van der Kraan things. He's back to 10th. Fantastic result for him, considering everything that has happened tonight. And of course, his main combatant in the championship all the way down to 24th. It's going to be interesting. Drop rounds, plenty of people will be waving goodbye to the Canadian Motorsport Park and just making a little mental note that, okay, that's one of my drop rounds, no doubt about it. Hopefully, as we now see a dive up and around what looks to me to be turn 3. Yeah, Dean Logsdale on Farrington. So a nice move around the long turn 3. Really good opportunity to do it. Well done, and has immediately bolted out to almost half a second. So obviously Dean Logsdale has a fair bit of extra pace over Farrington, and he's just looking to start moving away. Just quickly finishing what I was saying, Jared, drop round still available. A number of these guys will just be crossing this one out and paying no more attention to it because they're not going to get a huge amount of points, and they'll be glad to see the back of the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah, it has been a pretty rough round, not at all what we're used to seeing here with ASR. It's been a messy one, but it's one of those circuits that really does have a huge amount of challenge to it. And as we see Minogue making contact with Stewart, that's going to slow them both down. Keep an eye on Simon Haynes in the background. He's looking to pounce as a result. Stewart maintaining position 5. Minogue, though, right on his tail, and Simon Haynes closing that gap very, very quickly behind them. He's going to have to be on his toes here, though, because more contact like that, and all 3 of them could end up in the wall with only 3 laps here to go. 2.5 by this point. It's a pretty quick lap. Out in front, Wayne Walker still managing to hold off Scott Gamble, but we will keep an eye on this. Reese Degoe in the chat, just recognising Brian Minogue, just plugging away at it, is absolutely right. He's only up 3 positions from where he started, but considering all of the drama, that's still a pretty impressive effort from the SLS Racing entrant here in Minogue. Simon Haynes right behind him, Quantum Racing up 10, has just been in absolute blistering pace right throughout the evening here, and I think really the only reason we've not seen him further up the leaderboard is the fact that he's been unable to race for most of this season. So that is the way it goes sometimes. We jump forward because Scott Gamble has decided to close that gap up to Wayne Walker. He knows he's only got a couple of laps left here if he does want to take position number 1, and this could be 2 race wins for Scott Gamble if he can get this done. We're going to stick with this because he is right on Wayne Walker's tail. The view back from Walker's Accelerate Team Racing entry is absolutely full of Logitech branding right now, as Scott Gamble tries to put some pressure on and see if he can find a way past. It's getting late in the game, a lap and a half to go. Gamble, can he do it from this point?
It's pretty interesting, Jared. I'm just as well as watching how amazing these shots are, I'm also keeping a close eye, and I would encourage our viewers to as well, on the speed that these guys are doing. Absolutely slowest corner on the track, they're getting down to 73 k's an hour, but everything else frequently going through corners at 170, 180 kilometres an hour. It is huge work for these guys, and not the sort of track that our supercars enjoy. As we see now, Scotty Gamble with a run, getting it pulled up right on the rear bumper bar of Wayne Walker. He has but one lap left. It will be a huge amount of attention that he will be paying to that rear bumper. He'll be doing everything that he can to find a way past. We do find ourselves now on the last lap, 35 of 35, only a couple of kilometres to go. The guys head into turn one. Wayne Walker doing a fantastic job there, getting the car into turn one, holding a 3/10 gap. Now down through the big drop of turn two, getting the car settled at the bottom of the hill, making sure that it's got the grip to make the turn, and a short, sharp acceleration up towards turn three. Long right-hander, slower than the first two corners. Really good passing opportunity, but also integral to make sure that you get the run through four and up into the very, very important turn five. Drop off the little hill here, little short, sharp, nice down, braking while going uphill, which is always a fantastic feeling, and around Moss Corner. Scotty Gamble sitting 3.5 tenths off the back of Wayne Walker. Can he do anything down the straight? He's pulling that back ever so slightly, down to 3/10 now. He probably can't get this done. Wayne Walker's probably looking at this gap and breathing a sigh of relief. One last corner really to get it pulled up as we quickly drop back to the battle for the third.
Coleman. That's a big push late in the game. He's gotten through ahead, but Coleman pulls it back. Will go to the start-finish line as they come around for the final time. A huge spin of the wheels there. Walker celebrating as he closes it out ahead of Gamble. Unfortunately, Barger not able to get it done with David Coleman. Michael Stewart coming home in fifth, and that is race number two coming to a close. It was certainly a far more interrupted race than even I think we would have anticipated after a very, very tidy race one. But some phenomenal results right throughout, and certainly the best of them goes to Wayne Walker there, who has put in an absolutely massive drive to find himself at the top of the podium, just barely holding off Scott Gamble, but a really, really solid result.
Yeah, fantastic result, and I think special call out to both Simon Farrington and Lorne McKee up 15 spots. Lorne in particular being bold enough to try a different strategy. Not sure whether it was by design or by luck, but he tried a different strategy and it worked. Varg's up 8 into fourth is a fantastic result as well. Bit of a crazy race that one, Jared. A number of people will be scratching their head about how their night turned upside down, and no doubt a little bit of soul searching to do, just trying to make sure they understand exactly how things are going to work and that they can be back on the front foot next week.
Yeah, and it'll be very interesting to see what the provisional points look like after tonight's races. We'll bring those to you in just a moment, but what a night of racing. For a track that I've not seen a whole lot of, Josh, I'm pretty keen to see a bit more racing here at Mosport. It's been a very, very interesting track to watch. Certainly super challenging for what looks like a very simple layout. And yeah, I would love to see it return in perhaps next season.
Yep, I think so too. I think that tonight's racing was intriguing to say the least, but you can't deny how good it was. A couple of really interesting results. A couple of guys who, I think that tonight is going to be the first night where all of these guys sit back and maybe they think about watching the broadcast, and probably for the first time ever, they're all going to sit there. I guarantee you, Jared, that they're going to think about it and they're going to say, you know what? I will be happy that tonight my name hasn't been mentioned in the broadcast, because typically we were talking about people because they were going backwards, not forwards. Those who came forwards, they were very anonymous. They just quietly ticked away. There was no, I wouldn't say that I saw particularly many, hero moves or anything like that. Lots of just good, consistent racing. And if you were on screen, typically it was because you were in a fence, unfortunately.
Yeah, really, really rough second race this evening after a very tidy sprint race to start it off. This is how it looks at the end of the feature, though. Wayne Walker taking the win ahead of Scott Gamble. David Coleman getting on the podium for the first time I can remember in a little while, actually, which is good to see. It's been a bit of a while between drinks for the Fishy Motorsports driver. And in fact, we might start off by having a chat to the man himself. David Coleman, welcome back to the booth. How long has it been, my friend?
I think since mid-Ohio.
Jeez, it has been a while.
Yeah, the funny thing is I showed promising speed and then have a bit of bad luck. So, work's getting in the way of sim racing at the moment, so I'm not getting the time in. So just tried to keep it clean tonight, and P3, so pretty happy with that. It was a tough one with Vargas. He come home hard, so credit to him.
Yeah, mate, a huge night of racing. How did it feel out on track? It looked like that second race was a lot of work, not so much for the pace, which of course, as always in the ASR series, is definitely up there, but a lot of interruption and a lot of stop-start to add to your calculations in terms of strategy tonight. How did that impact you this evening?
Yeah, strat was a tough one, but I knew the first stop, obviously with the limited fuel, everyone's going to take, I think we could only take about 15 litres, so from that point, everyone was on the same strat, with the first safety car, so it kind of, you couldn't go wrong as long as you topped it up. The second safety car come at the wrong time, because I managed to get past Lord and get a 4-second gap, so I was hoping if we went green, it'd just be a matter of just pitting, because obviously everyone pretty much needed the same fuel with that safety car, so I knew I was probably gonna, there wasn't too much chance of an undercut or overcut from anyone else. So it was a bit of a weird one because the limited fuel and everyone was pretty much on the same strat. So it was a good one.
Well, all in all, mate, a good result for you there in race 2. Some good points towards your championship standing. Congrats on making the podium. Good to speak to you again, and here's hoping that perhaps the next couple of rounds give you another opportunity, hey?
Yeah, maybe do a fishy dance or something for us and wish us good luck. It should have been probably Dikey here tonight, but he had a bit of a shocker that one. So happy birthday to Dikey. I know he's probably not too happy, but
not the way to celebrate a birthday, that's for sure.
Nah, well, you send the love into the back of the other car, so it is what it is. You'll have a chat to the crowd, and they'll sort everything out, and yeah. But anyway, good broadcast as always, boys, and pleasure talking to you.
Good to have you back in the booth once again, David Coleman. P3 tonight. Congrats. We'll let you get back to it.
See you, lads.
And Josh, I think the man we really want to talk to here about race 1 as well, Scott Gamble. We welcome him to the booth once again. Scott, you with us?
Yeah, how you going, Jared?
Mate, it's that's been an interesting one to watch tonight from our perspective. Tell us about your experience from the driver's seat. We'll start off with race 1. Start to finish, you looked fairly comfortable out in front.
Yeah, it was all right until we had that probably 2 or 3 laps to go, and then Wayne really put the pressure on, and we had that a blue flag car come back on track right down at Moss Corner. So that gave him that extra 10th or so to get onto me, and that was giving him the run up the straight. So it was still on. It was still high pressure there, and he drove really well, really well. We couldn't break him at all in that first race, but good fun, really good fun.
And then the two of you decided to turn it on again in race 2, and coming home with a P2. We were hoping to be talking to you about taking out both races tonight, but not to be in the end. A huge battle to finish it off. Look, we just spoke to Dave Coleman about the same. How did you find that second race with all of the stop-start nature of so many safety cars being fit in there?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was fine with the first 2 safety cars. It was that third one I was absolutely spewing on, because that was when, at that stage where I was really starting to try and work Wayne over, and get him to use a little bit more tyre if I could, and felt that I was really applying the pressure at that stage, and that sort of let it off and gave him that breather and gave him those tyres back. And then at the start, he absolutely got the jump, he got 0.7, 0.8 straight up on me, and, had to get that back over the next few laps, and then he set a blistering fastest lap, it was a cracking lap. So it was tough after that, and the same thing, just apply the pressure we best we could. Probably ran out a bit of revs going up the back straight, but it was gee whiz, it was good fun, and he drove superbly. And Coleman in 30 drove awesome too. He was just waiting. He was waiting for something to happen. So otherwise enjoyed it. It was really good to and I haven't raced like that against Wayne before, so because I've been away a bit, and so it was really good to get in there, and kudos to him. He drove really well.
And it looked fantastic from our perspective. Thanks for putting on an amazing show here tonight at Mosport. You've done bloody well. Some good points there tonight towards your championship standings, and here's hoping you can repeat it over the next couple of rounds. Congratulations on the points this evening.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Scott Gamble there taking the race win in race number 1 and taking second position, but The man of the hour, Wayne Walker. Welcome back to the booth, mate, and congrats on the win there in race number 2. What an effort that must have been.
Yeah, that was an awesome race with Scott there at the end, and even at the end of race 1 as well. We sort of I tried around the outside, couldn't quite get the move done, and it was pretty much reverse in race 2.
And race 2 threw up its fair share of challenges in terms of incidents happening around the track. We've asked both the other guys, so we may as well throw it to you as well. How did those safety cars play into or work against your initial strategy here in the 35-lap extended race?
I don't know. The second race, I sort of, depending on how the race was going, I was going to try and pit a bit early and try and undercut and get to the front. But then, with the start that I got and then Dyke and Vanderkraan coming together, it handed me the lead. So then I could maybe try to run a bit longer, and then safety cars come out, and we pretty much all had to pit in the first 2 safety cars. So it didn't really change. Or that was really the only strategy we could sort of go with the safety cars. So.
Well, it certainly worked out for you tonight, mate. A good set of results for Accelerate Sim Racing and, of course, for yourself in the championship standings. 2 rounds left to go. How are you feeling about what's left to come this season?
Daytona, I've never raced on.
You're in for a treat then, mate.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure about that race. And then what's the last track?
Last track for the season is Interlagos, which is it's going to be something else altogether.
Yeah, I don't mind that track. So looking forward to that track, and I don't know, we'll see how we go with Daytona, learning that and getting up to speed.
Josh, I know you've enjoyed Daytona, but you got any words of wisdom for Wayne on what the Gen 3 supercars like around there?
Yeah, look, I'll give you probably one tip, Wayne. Stay in the slip.
On the
if you find
on the oval.
Look, just the whole track. It's an unreal track. I think you're going to have a blast. The bus stop in the supercar will be a heap of fun. But unfortunately, if you find yourself on your own, that's it, race done. So, hook up with someone and enjoy that track. I think you're going to have a ball there. 2 wildly different races, though. Daytona through to Interlagos, probably going to be 2 wildly different approaches. But I think if you haven't raced it at Daytona before, I think you're about to have an absolute ball, because it's certainly not like anything we normally do, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay, sounds good. I'll have to do some practice.
We'll keep a close eye on you, Wayne. Congrats again on the results tonight. Bloody well driven, and certainly well earned in amongst all of the chaos this evening. We'll let you go and wind down with a beverage of choice, eh?
Thank you.
Cheers, Wayne. A great set of results for a couple of top drivers. Some real surprises in amongst all of that as well, with some of our championship front runners really not having the best of nights. Provisionally speaking, Josh, this is what we're looking at after round 8 here at Mosport. Matt Vanderkraan, again, provisional points, missing some bonus points, and of course penalties to be applied, if any. But right now, as it stands, Matt Vanderkraan has extended his lead over Jamie Dyke from 50 points to 100, and Wayne Walker looks set to jump up into position 2. Of course, the drop rounds will come into this, and so we'll see how that stands at the beginning of next round when we do bring you a recap. But yeah, if this isn't the worst round for Jamie Dyke, I'd be very, very surprised.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't think we can read as much into that as maybe we might first think we can. Obviously, whenever you have a bad round, it's not a good thing. It means that you're going to go backwards when you take your drop into account, not forwards. But I don't think that the impact will be that big. Fantastic round for Wayne Walker, though.
He'll be hanging on to that one for sure.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't be surprised if Wayne does jump Jamie, but certainly I think that Jamie will be a little bit closer. really interesting second last round. So next weekend, next week is the final drop round of the year. So these guys can drop all the way up to the last round. And really, a track that relies so heavily on teamwork is an interesting choice for so late in the season. So, we can safely assume that Matt Vanderkraan, Wayne Walker, and Jamie Dyke will all be somewhere up the front again. These are all incredibly fast drivers, and to think that they're going to be somewhere up the front. And these guys don't have any comms between teams. They're not allowed on the iRacing radio to talk to each other at all. So they're going to have to sort out their partnerships on the fly and try and work out between them who's going to help who. There is an absolute possibility that someone in that three just happens to get left behind by the way that the race works. It's going to be fascinating watching, and a very different fascinating to what we're used to, Jared. I love racing at Daytona. It's not the most complex track in the world, but it's just something different, and it always throws up some really fun racing. The super speedway bit, the bus stop, even trying to get through turn one. It's a huge amount of fun. These guys are going to have a ball. We're going to have a ball commentating it, and really lights raises some alarm bells for me that we're going to a track that relies so heavily on partnership at the back end of a season when all these fast guys are really fighting against each other. The only thing that I would say is, probably Jamie Dyke frequently has fishy cars around him more than maybe Matt has Angry Birds cars and Wayne has Accelerate cars. But look, who knows? Let's get there next week and see what happens, hey?
Couldn't have summed it up better myself. A lot left to look forward to in the remaining 2 rounds here of Season 4. The Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercars series continues, but we will call it a checkered flag here at Mosport. What a night of racing. We've seen bold overtakes, we've seen some razor-thin margins, and some truly championship-defining moments in a couple of races here that had it all. With just 2 rounds left, the pressure absolutely cranking up here. Matt Vanderkraan, Jamie Dyke, and Wayne Walker all still in the hunt, and tonight may have shifted the momentum in a big way. We will just have to wait for the drop rounds to take effect before we get a true picture of what's left to come with these final 2 rounds ahead of us. Daytona and Interlagos yet to come, but from the sweeping curves of Turn 1 to the chaos of Mosport has absolutely delivered tonight for us. The story's not over yet, though. Of course, the fight for the Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercar title is far from settled. So thank you so much at home for joining us here for Round 8. We do have 2 more rounds to go, so make sure you subscribe. Don't miss any of the action. And until then, from all of us here at Simple Racing Broadcast, a massive thank you to the sponsors for Alliance Sim Racing. Of course, West Automotive and Quantum Tint Solutions, our primary sponsors, with Nicol Photography and 24/7 Sim Services getting involved as well to make it all possible. And of course, thank you to you at home for sticking with us right throughout the coverage. We look forward to welcoming you back next week for Round 9 at Daytona. But until then, stay safe from the booth, and on behalf of Josh Harris, it is goodbye for now.